There has never been a White House that has not invited op-ed writers. I mean, obviously reporters that go to the White House, but op-ed writers. There hasn't been one that hasn't had like bloggers or, during the Trump years, men's rights advocates or, gamergate stars and to the White House and brief them on situations to get their message out. This happens. We know this because it's reported, and it is not as if like they're hiring people to do it and not telling us. Now, I suppose it's conceivable that that's happening, but we know these stories because they are reported. In other words, they're not obscured. Now, you could say White Houses should not be communicating to certain people. That's inappropriate. But really, what it does is it allows us to know who's carrying what message and why. Is there a difference between, I don't know, Barack Obama inviting David Brooks and maybe, I don't know if Marcos from Elitis ever went there, but I'm saying someone from a big blog to the White House versus, let's say, I don't know, Trump inviting Mike Cernovich and, Milo Yananopoulos to the White House.
I mean, this is kind of downstream from their complaints about which celebrities get invited to the White House. Remember the whole thing about Obama inviting that gangbanger Common?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of deal.
But Common was not necessarily brought there, I think, to carry a message, right?
I guess.
mean, but I'm saying it's a reflexive of who the people are carrying the message. The credibility should rub both ways. And but here is Fox News complaining that the Biden administration has been talking to TikTok stars, which I think is actually pretty smart. I would not have necessarily thought to do that at first, but that's where the kids are these days.
Their number one revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia, nobody wants to work with him and do international trade.
So, Brian, how is our White House any better than Russia in spewing out this kind of propaganda? I mean, using basically useful idiots, essentially, to just spew out lies.
Well, the president's a Democrat, and he's trying to save the midterms. So what he wants to do is get the whole 18 to 24s. Or, maybe we'll get those 16-year-olds to vote, which I think was an aspiration of the West Coast, to go their direction. So by giving them the attention, by looking at the 10 million followers that they have, and it's a lot, it's a savvy move. And they are looking like they are compliant. They're saying, okay, the White House called me, nobody else called me, I'll go with it, because I don't think they really TikTokers. I haven't seen their operation. I don't know if they have a news verification system. So I'm pretty sure that.
Oh, positive. Wait a second. Wait. He hasn't seen the TikTokers operation to see if they have a news verification system?
Is he trying to censor the TikTokers?
I was going to say, didn't we see Kilmeade do the same segment about Joe Rogan?
It's
and
weird.
His news verification system over there on the podcasts are normal TikTokers. God knows what the hell they're doing with their news verification system.
This sounds like 1984, man. News verification.
What's also interesting is that they're not pointing out any news misinformation.
It's just all lies.
You know what Fox News is supposed to be, theoretically? It's a news verification machine, supposedly.
Fair and balanced.
Why don't they run some of those TikTok operations through their news verification machine and see?
Yeah. I mean, they're equally threatened for partisan reasons when Sesame Street tells kids to read.
Right. That's true. That's true. And of course, like any type of, if you wait later in the evening, they'll just start slamming teachers for answering kids' questions about their own bodies. But here it is. Go ahead.
Because I don't think they really TikTokers. I haven't seen their operation. I don't know if they have a news verification system. So I'm pretty sure that those jump cuts were not done by their newsroom. So that's a good first serve. Sooner or later, the TikTokers will realize they're being used by the.
I like how Campos Duffy said, doesn't this make us the moral equivalent of like Russia? And Kilmeade's like, that's good first serve.
Yeah, right. Right. Because they still haven't gotten to like TikTok's owned by China, which means it's evil yet.
the White House. But it was a savvy move. But the bottom line is U.S. oil production is down 10%, pushing up prices and enriching and emboldening Vladimir Putin. Unlike the Russian hoax, as Jim Banks said, Putin's malign influence on our energy sector is real and deserves further investigation. And what he means by malign influence, they are starting to push Janet Yellen to find out if Vladimir Putin has been supporting the green effort to green our economy, specifically to stop fracking so he could have more control over the marketplace and win over the American public and the West in the process. Guess where the Prime Minister of England's going today? He is going to visit Saudi Arabia in person and the United Arab Emirates, asking them, begging them to produce more oil. You would think he would call us up and say, produce more oil. You have more than Saudi Arabia, but he knows that would be fruitless.
Well, okay, pause it for 1 second. I know this is my hobby horse these days, but there's a difference between calling us up and calling up Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is run by a king. He also happens to be a murderer, but let's put that aside for a moment. I mean, it's arguable whether our president, but this one is like a little more specific.
All murderers.
But it's run by a king. And the number of people who decide what they're going to do with oil in Saudi Arabia in terms of production probably could fit on that couch that they're sitting on. However, in this country, if there's going to be more drilling, now you have to bank on Wall Street finding a profit motive so that they will invest in the capital that you need to begin to do more drilling. It's why the fracking is dried up, because the price of the fracked material is too low, didn't justify it anymore. It's an expensive process. And so this is all in the hands of private enterprise that does not see enough of a profit to increase production. In fact, it would reduce. If prices go down, profits go down. And I think what Kilmeade is trying to say here is that we need to nationalize all power production in this country.
Yep.
He is quietly, and I think he's probably afraid of saying it out loud on Fox News.
He'd get canceled.
He'd get canceled. But when he says, I mean, go back, you can hear the way he's saying this. Like, why don't they come to us? Who is the us here? Because the U.S. government is not doing anything. And I would argue that they probably should. But they're not doing anything to throttle oil production in this country. It is all a function of the capitalists who cannot find a profit motive and incentive to do it. And I think what Kilmeade is really saying is that we need to nationalize all of this. Run it.
Done by their newsroom. So that's a good first serve. Sooner or later, the TikTokers will realize they're being used by the White House. But it was a savvy move. But the bottom line is U.S. oil production is down 10%, pushing up prices and enriching and emboldening Vladimir Putin. Unlike the Russian hoax, as Jim Banks said, Putin's malign influence on our energy sector is real and deserves further investigation. And what he means by malign influence, they are starting to push Janet Yellen to find out if Vladimir Putin has been supporting the green effort to green our economy, specifically to stop fracking so he could have more control over the marketplace and win over the American public and the West in the process. Guess where the Prime Minister of England's going today? He is going to visit Saudi Arabia in person and the United Arab Emirates, asking them, begging them to produce more oil. You would think he would call us up and say, produce more oil. You have more than Saudi Arabia, but he knows that would be fruitless.
Well, what Joe Biden said, gas has gone up $1 since Putin invaded. That's probably true. But what Joe Biden doesn't say is gas ran up $1 on my watch before the invasion. And while he can go ahead and blame COVID as well, keep in mind, he ran on, I'm Joe Biden and I'm going to fix the COVID pandemic. Okay, we are coming out of the pandemic. Did he fix it? Does a gas station with 504 right there, Does that look like things are fixed? Nancy Pelosi told the president they need a better
More stills of the gas station.
Joe Biden and the Democrats.
Can you pause it for a sec? I just love how, I mean, what do they say to their paid photographers? Just go to LA. We need you in LA. We need you in New York. We need you on little islands in where it's go to Martha's Vineyard, and I want you to take pictures of the gas prices there. They must have endless B-roll of high gas prices.
I love also how Ducey seems to have shown up late to work today and did not work out this connection between, okay, he said he would, but he said he was going to, what he's not telling us is gas went up $1 on his watch. What Ducey's not telling you is that Trump oversaw a deal with OPEC to cut production, but let's put that aside for a moment. This was at the beginning of COVID and lasting 2 years. And then Ducey says and what he came in, he said he was going to fix COVID, and it's a year later, and okay, COVID is going away, but gas prices are $5, and that's part of COVID. The gas stations got COVID, and so they didn't right over to you, Brian.
Yeah, he wasn't quite peppy enough to dispense with the actual reason that, if you look at, I just went back to, if you look at the dotted line there, where Joe Biden takes office, it's actually rising.
Yeah, it's pretty steep, actually, rise. And actually, that next big steep rise takes place in somewhere between January 21st and March 20, January 21 and March of 21. So within a month, this dude oversaw a huge jump in gas. That's crazy. It's almost as if people started driving again, and the OPEC deal that Trump forged was
impacted
impacted
anymore.
But look, there's polling that shows that the American public does not seem to have a problem, broadly speaking, with this. Now,
that can change if this continues.
I would imagine,
specifically rural communities where they're more dependent on gas.
Yep.
But
were we done with that clip?
Yeah, that's it. Which is why the government should nationalize and be rationing.
I mean, to circle back to Kilmeade's suggestion,
who
right?
is he saying? They should call us. He's not saying call Fox News, because Fox News doesn't control the oil. He can't mean that he's going to call the U.S. government, because the U.S. government can't force private companies to drill oil. What he must be saying is, we as a country, as a nation, should be in charge of all the oil production. And I'm here for it. It's good to see, we've been talking about this nationalization of energy for a long time on this program.
It woke me.
Look at us building bridges across partisan bridges.
I mean,
just get stuff done. Common sense.
When am I going to be on Fox and Friends to talk about this?